The other day, a new member was added to our family. After many years of infertility treatments, my husband and I finally experienced a very happy moment. I was anxious during my pregnancy due to the risk of a threatened miscarriage, but giving birth safely brought immense joy. Immediately after birth, our daughter showed slight jaundice, requiring her admission to the NICU. However, the doctor reassured us that it was mostly for testing purposes, and I felt relieved. My husband Mike had to return to his parents' home during my hospital stay. The main reason was because he has never lived alone and isn't good at household chores, so I was anxious to leave him alone at home. But, to be honest, I was also concerned about cleaning up after him once I got discharged. Mike isn't a bad person. In fact, he's quite kind-hearted. However, he's not particularly good at details or planning, so I felt more at ease with him going back to his parents' house. Since our daughter was still hospitalized, I was discharged first. When I returned home and lay down on the bed, I enjoyed some time alone for the first time in about 10 months and felt at peace. Due to accumulated fatigue and knowing I hadn't been sleeping well recently, I soon fell asleep. I wanted to rest as much as possible before our daughter came home, anticipating even more sleepless nights ahead. I slept soundly until morning, but I still felt very tired and had no energy to get out of bed. Mike was nowhere to be seen. It seemed he went for his morning jog. I thought I could relax a bit more today since Mike had the day off from work. But he loves to exercise, so unless the weather is bad, he's usually out jogging every morning. I planned to prepare brunch together when Mike returned, but just as I was closing my eyes again, the house intercom rang at a rather inconvenient time. Feeling too tired to answer, I decided to pretend I wasn't home. After a while, the intercom rang again. Ugh, no one's here. I mumbled as I dove back into my mattress, only to hear my smartphone vibrating moments later. Thinking something might have happened to my daughter, I rushed to check my phone. It was a call from my mother-in-law. Thankfully, it wasn't about my daughter. However, her tone sounded quite displeased. Hey, stop pretending you're not home and open the door already. Why are you making me wait like this? It turned out she was the one ringing our intercom earlier. Hastily changing, I opened the door to find a very disgruntled-looking mother-in-law holding what seemed like heavy bags. Good morning, Mother. It's been a while. What's with all the bags this early? I greeted her with the best smile I could muster, but her expression remained stern. Why are you sleeping in so late? I assume Mike is out jogging, while your husband maintains a regular exercise routine. Why are you being so lazy? What kind of wife does that make you? She voiced her complaints and, without waiting for a response, proceeded into the living room. Thinking I should get dressed properly, I was about to head to the bedroom when I heard her irritated voice again. Hey, when am I getting my tea? Do you think you can just ignore me? Back in my day, we were devoted to our mothers-in-law. Gosh, can't I relax for once? Knowing that I won't have such leisure moments in the future, I replied with a quick, "Coming right now," and hurriedly changed. My relationship with my mother-in-law has always been somewhat strained. When I say somewhat, it's because whenever tension arises, my father-in-law or Mike steps in, making everything seem all right. I believe they aren't consciously doing this. They naturally support us in such instances. Thanks to their interventions, we've managed to avoid major conflicts so far. However, today is different. My dependable Mike and father-in-law aren't home. When I returned to the living room, my mother-in-law was lounging on the sofa, looking as if she was demanding her tea, her posture radiating authority. While I was preparing tea in the kitchen, I noticed a spread of delicious-looking lobster on the living room table. Where did this lobster come from? I asked while pouring the tea. With a hint of shyness, she replied, I thought we'd celebrate the birth of my first grandchild today, so I had this lobster made especially this morning. Mike will be back soon. Shall we eat together? It seemed that my mother-in-law did care for me after all. Although I had been annoyed with her earlier, I decided to see her in a new light. Right then, Mike returned from his jog. I was about to get up to greet him at the door, but my mother-in-law rushed to the entrance even quicker than I could. Welcome back. Mike, I've been waiting. You're so sweaty. How far did you run? You must have worked hard. Look, I brought your favorite lobster. Let's eat together. Mike seemed flustered by her rapid-fire chatter. Has she always been this obsessed with her son? Even though I found it odd, I also greeted him and handed him a towel. As Mike went to take a shower, I began to set the table. My mother-in-law seemed restless, probably waiting for him. Her excitement reminded me of a middle schooler in the throes of her first love. Once Mike came out of the shower, she couldn't wait and beckoned him to sit beside her. He seemed a bit reluctant and looked in my direction, but ultimately sat next to her as she insisted. Look, Mike! I got lobster from your favorite place. You said you loved this one, right? I wanted to give it to you when you were at home, but I couldn't make it in time. So I thought we'd celebrate today. This is premium lobster costing $500 per serving. I had to pull some strings to get the chef to make it. Her comments felt a bit passive-aggressive. The words couldn't make it in time, and just to celebrate gave me the impression that she was somewhat disregarding me and my daughter. Nonetheless, I'd never seen lobster that cost $500 per serving before, and I had heard rave reviews about this particular lobster place from my husband's family. Indeed, the lobster place was popular enough to be featured on TV and in magazines, so I anticipated it to be as delicious as its reputation. Opening the lobster box, I was genuinely taken aback by the contents. Look at that! Have you ever seen such glossy and fresh ingredients? Everything's just perfect! Truly, the lobster here is unmatched, she boasted exaggeratedly. Then, with a grand gesture, she opened her box, followed by Mike's. Indeed, an impressive lineup of lobsters awaited us. But in an instant, a realization dawned on me. Without a word, I took the lobster box and threw it into the trash bag.
Hey, Michelle! What the hell? My mother bought this as a celebration. Why would you throw it away? Seriously, what's gotten into you?
Mike, who had been gleefully eyeing the lobster moments earlier, now rushed over and grabbed my arm. I was at a loss for words, especially seeing the malicious smirk on my mother-in-law's face.
What the hell is this? You ruined the lobster my mom brought to celebrate. Do you have a grudge? I don't get what's going on.
Although Mike was usually gentle and rarely raised his voice, he was evidently upset. His grip on my arm tightened. Mike, it's okay. It's my fault. I thought I'd celebrate and bring the lobster, but maybe Michelle truly dislikes me. She never contacts me or visits. But the lobster isn't to blame. Even if she despises me, she could have eaten it. It would have been better if I hadn't come, right? Her overly calm tone seemed to strike a chord with Mike.
Listen, my mom prepared this lobster for you. Don't you feel grateful at all? How long are you going to stay silent? Didn't anyone teach you to apologize when you do something wrong? This is just low. If you won't apologize, we might as well get a divorce. I can't live with someone who doesn't care about trampling over others' feelings.
His firm grip caused the bag with lobster to fall from my hands, and just like that, Mike had mentioned the dreaded word, divorce. I couldn't let myself be blamed without defending myself. This, the one I threw away, is just trash. Yours and your mother's are worth $500, while mine's mere garbage. Look closely. Don't you see? There, lying on the ground. Look! Unable to use my hands, I nodded toward the plastic bag. Mike, still in a state of confusion, followed my direction. After a moment of disbelief, he released my arm and hastily picked up the fallen plastic bag. Upon seeing this, the mother-in-law began to panic.
Never mind. It's my fault. I'll just leave, okay? I'll take this trash with me,
she hastily offered. She tried to take the bag from Mike, but he pushed her hand away, anger evident in his voice.
Mom? What the hell is this? Why is the lobster yellow? Did you smear mustard all over it? And there's something resembling chili powder on the salmon roll. The bread beneath the egg is also yellow.
As Mike noted each anomaly, his mother's face turned pale.
What? Why would... Oh, this must be the chef's doing. Some kind of nasty prank. This is outrageous.
Trying to pass the blame, she looked desperate. But Mike wasn't buying it. He took out his phone. Seeing this, the flustered mother-in-law nervously asked,
"What are you doing?"
To which Mike responded,
I'm going to confirm this with the chef. This is unacceptable.
He began searching for the restaurant's number. In a panic, the mother-in-law snatched the phone from Mike and quickly tucked it into her pocket.
Mom, if this is the chef's prank, it's unacceptable. We're loyal customers. What if this happens again?
Mike was visibly furious. The mother-in-law trembled, gripping the stolen phone tightly. As Mike attempted to retrieve his phone, she finally confessed.
"I did it!"
Mike's surprise at not suspecting his mother-in-law was tremendous. Mike probably struggled to understand what was happening. And then the mother-in-law, distraught, began to recount what she had done.
Mike wasn't coming home, and I was lonely. After all, Mike is my son, and when this woman was in the hospital, he came home every day. But once this woman was discharged, he said he'd be back. He was saying, "I'm leaving until yesterday." That's why I thought he'd come back if they got divorced. I tried to make sure this woman understood that Mike belongs with his mother, me.
The two were shocked by the mother-in-law's words. They felt as though they had heard something they shouldn't have. The mother-in-law sobbed miserably, repeatedly murmuring,
Mike.
Mom, I've always been visiting home. I told you I'd be back when I left. What happened? I'm already married, have a child, and I'm a father. I'm not just your child anymore.
Upon hearing that, the mother-in-law looked up and screamed hysterically.
I was against marrying such a woman from the start. Even though I fulfilled my duties as a bride properly, this woman spent years and thousands of dollars on infertility treatments, and in the end, she gave birth to a girl instead of a boy. Doesn't she understand that only by producing a male heir can she be recognized as a bride? This is good for nothing.
I thought I could put up with the lobster thing, but hearing this was the last straw. Just as I was about to retaliate, the living room door opened and the father-in-law walked in.
You were thinking such foolish things? And you seem to have wasted $500 on lobster, acting so selfishly and causing trouble for everyone. What on earth were you thinking?
Turning around, there stood the father-in-law, his face twisted in rage. Both the mother-in-law and Mike were pale with shock.
I'm truly sorry, Michelle. You must be tired of the challenges of raising a child ahead. I'll make sure she doesn't interfere with your marriage.
Not liking the kind words the father-in-law had for me, the mother-in-law became even more hysterical.
I did nothing wrong. What's wrong with trying to reclaim my adorable son from this wicked woman? Hey, Mike, wake up! You're being deceived by this woman. Wake up!
The astonishment of Mike, who never doubted his mother-in-law, was immense. Mike must be struggling to understand what is going on.
You're the one who needs to wake up. You spent $1,500 on lobster. Do you even understand the value of that money? Moreover, one of them had ruined with mustard and chili. Didn't you feel guilty for the chef who prepared it? You don't understand the value of money because I've spoiled you. Go and work now.
No way! I can't work. It's too late now. When we married, you promised to keep me happy.
Mike promised the same to Michelle. You tried to ruin their happiness. Think it over.
The mother-in-law was silent after that. The father-in-law took her and left, only mentioning that he had interrupted. Why did the father-in-law arrive at the right moment? I had secretly called him earlier. After noticing something off with the lobster and discarding it, I called him during the argument between Mike and his mother. I believed he would figure something out, and he did. Days later, I heard the mother-in-law had started a job, cleaning at a company twice a week. It seemed tough for her, but she seemed motivated by her allowance. We live peacefully with our newborn daughter. Mike regrets believing his mother's lies and is now actively participating in household chores and child rearing. Even though he's not good at details, his help is invaluable. Despite being manipulated by the mother-in-law once, we now live calm days. We intend to build a happy home by supporting and helping each other.